The guy writing this story is definitely not only a science major, he's not only very like smart, I think he might be brilliant. Hey guys, welcome back to Everything Anime Podcast. I'm your host Shinry. Here at the Everything Anime Podcast, I talk from anime, manga, video games, TV shows, and whatever relevant topic I talk about. Today's video is on Dr. Stone. I think it's chapters 57 to 59, and we're gonna call it the time capsule. So, from where we last left off, Magma, Senku, and Chrome had found these rocks in the cave, and they brought them back, and one of them had tungsten, as well as other minerals they could find. I decided to bring them back to the village, and everybody's admiring all these rocks. I think like, oh my god, they're so shiny. And I think Sukiya was looking through the telescope that Senku got for his birthday. I thought that was a really cute little touch they added in there. I don't think she was doing anything particular. But well, even though everybody's admiring the rocks and they're really cool, Magma's the only one that's not impressed. He's like, no, what? They're just big, dumb, shiny rocks. Like, who cares? And Senku's like, oh, well, these rocks are going to help us take down Tsukasa's army. And I thought this was funny because the chief of the village is like, oh, I understand. We're going to throw rocks at Tsukasa's army because they're stronger than us in strength. So, you know, we'll just stone them to death like they used to do in the Stone Age. And I was just like, oh my God. I mean, that kind of would work, but that's also very dark and accurate. But no, these stones are going to be used to create the first cell phones. Like, the metal inside of them, when it's burned down, has the tungsten in them. And because Tsukasa's army does have the overwhelming strength, we're going to defeat them with information intelligence by using cell phones to like communicate with each other. But Kawaku's curious how we're going to get the tungsten out of the rocks because it's like the hardest metal on Earth. So how do you get that out? And Senku's like, well, we have to like smash it out. But before he can even like say what it is, Magma's already like crushing these rocks down. And he breaks them apart, kind of like Patrick and SpongeBob whenever like he's like, I was like, what were they trying to do in SpongeBob? They were trying to get something out of like, I think it was like $1 or something, like how to, I don't know, I'm gonna find that clip.
Did it work?
No.
Did it work?
No. No.
Did it work?
No.
Nothing's working!
Wait, SpongeBob! We're not cavemen! We have technology!
It didn't work.
And even though the rest of the group freaks out when Magma's like smashing the rock apart, Senku commented like, yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it. We had to get it out somehow. So I thought that was pretty great. It's really good humor. But now, thanks to Magma breaking apart the excess rock around tungsten, Senku then goes in like how to actually extract it, and he goes into this long-winded explanation, which we then again have our insert character again say like, "Are we actually?" Crap. So sorry about that. Thanks to Magma's help, we can now extract the tungsten from the metal itself, but there's a more complicated process, and Senku's about to go into the explanation about it, but again, our insert character, who again, like, is us, the reader, that's not the science major, he's like, is this an explanation we're actually able to follow? Which I thought was pretty great humor, because I've been saying it about Gen since the beginning. I was like, he is the character that is us, and we don't understand what Senku was talking about. Now, of course, tungsten isn't just going to come out easily. They're going to need to build something hotter than a furnace to like burn it out, because what they have on hand isn't going to work. It's not going to melt that metal. So Senku tells the group, like, basically we have to split up into 3 groups. It's going to be himself, Chrome, and Kaseki that are going to be like, I think Chrome handles the Senku is doing the plastic. Chrome is working on melting it. And then Kaseki is working on the vacuum tubes. I think that's what the 3 groups were doing. And I love this panel where like Chrome is like doubting himself, and then Senku basically gives him like a pep talk. He's like, "Hey, you're the science man of this Stone Age. Like, if you can't figure this out, nobody can. Use everything I've taught you up until this moment, and you can figure this out." And you get like this moment where like Chrome smirks to himself and they share like this high five, and it's just like, there's gonna be more to it in a second because it seems like it's not really that big of a deal, but like I found it really like powerful and emotional. Because then we go over to Kaseki, and we get like kind of a little short backstory with Kaseki. He's like, oh, you know, as a child, I love to build things. I used to build bridges, or like I would just build things, and then over time, like for the village, I built the bridges, I built their shields and things like that. And everybody just kind of like always looked down at me as a laborer, even as I became an old man. And he's like, I never really had people like help me. They would just sit back and watch. And then Chrome and Senku were like, Kaseki, what are you talking about? We're your helpers. We're your friends. It's not funny because what happens next is Kaseki starts crying, and I thought that was really powerful. Like he realizes that he has friends, like he's not alone in this stone world. But then all of a sudden he goes Super Saiyan again, where he breaks out of his clothes, and I was just like, this is so silly, but I love it. I love it. And it was great. And then we go over to Senku dragging Gen away by the back of his head, by the back of his neck. Oh, Senku was making toothpaste. That's what it was. He's not making plastic yet. He's like, Gen, you're the only one who can help me in this age. And as they're trying to make toothpaste, Senku says, I'm gonna dumb it down for you to make it easier for you to understand. And Gen's like, okay, great. And then Senku goes into this long-winded explanation that even I didn't follow. But then again, because Gen is our insert character, he's like, okay, I do this, like the dumbest way to actually break it down. And then Senku's like, you're the worst person I could have grabbed for this. Again, I love it because I'm reading the manga for the first time. I'm not familiar with these characters or this world, but I'm enjoying it. Dr. Stone is a very cleverly written manga and anime. But back with Chrome, his ultimate plan to like heat up the tungsten, because like there's no way to because it's such a powerful metal, and it needs to be very hot to melt. He's trying to come up with his own plan to like melt it. So what he does is he thinks back to like Sukiya's glass eye, like how it burned Maximus' clothes. He makes like this giant glass eye. Well, not giant glass eye. He makes like this giant glass, like, I'm trying to think of the word, like plate. And he's trying to use it to like, he's testing it against like the weakest metal to like stronger metals. Like lead's the weakest, but even that isn't gonna burn. Like the heat from the sun this time isn't working on that lead because one, they're in wintertime, so the sun's not at its hottest, and two, it's kind of cold, so the lead isn't reacting at all. And he thinks back to like Senku's cotton candy machine. He's like, okay, we're gonna basically use like a furnace mixed with like elements from the cotton candy machine, like how the cotton candy machine like had them pumping and stuff like that. He's like, all right, we're basically gonna like old-fashioned like heat up the furnace, like you know how you used to fan it, they're gonna do like that. And then we get various teams working together. It's like Chrome and it's like Genro and Kenro at one point, and then it's like Magma, I think by himself with somebody else. Like they mix up the teams and like they slowly can burn away each metal, working their way up the tungsten. And as Chrome continues working throughout the night, he's like, okay, we're getting closer, but we haven't yet burned tungsten. And over the night, also, Senku manages to finish making toothpaste with the hilarious gag of Gen behind him on the ground, like exhausted. Like Gen's like, wait to see he's dead. And then when he goes back to meet up with Chrome and Kaseki, he finds like this jumbled mess of a machine, but like using like everything Senku's ever taught them, which is what Senku said, like use everything I ever taught you. But like Chrome and Kaseki took that literally. And it works because it does help them like melt. No, they don't melt the tungsten yet, but they're getting closer. And Senku gets like a hilarious reaction to it. He's like, what? He's like, what the fuck is that? He's like, you know what? It does look pretty crazy, but I mean, it's working, so why not? Like, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And then we get some more science mumbo jumbo that I didn't understand, but basically the entire village works together. And we do actually manage to melt that tungsten because everybody in the village works together. They do, I think that is how Chrome managed to melt the tungsten, was like making that crazy machine. But it's almost time to make the cell phone. We're not done yet because we still need, this is where we need it. We need the vacuum tubes made by Kaseki. We need the plastic made by Senku, and I think it was Gen, but I think Gen got taken by Kaseki. This one might be Chrome and Senku. And then Kaseki's doing the vacuum tubes again. Chrome is doing, let me see what I have in my notes. Well, no, it's just plastic. So, gold wiring. Okay, so I remember now. It was Senku and Chrome doing the plastic, Kaseki and Gen doing the vacuum tubes, and then Sukiya and the kids were doing the gold wiring because I need a lot of gold wiring for this. And so Senku doubts out loud, like he's like, I don't think we can. So the one that Senku says is going to be complicated is the vacuum tube because like they've been having trouble making that. And he's like, it's going to require some complicated glass work to get the vacuum tube to be accurate. And Kaseki's like, oh, I made all this crazy stuff for you before. Let me see them schematics. I can probably do it. And he takes a look at the schematics and he like instantly freaks out. He's like, what the fuck is this? Again, not literally, but again, like that's the expression. Like, what the fuck is this? And then because Kaseki seems like he's doubting himself for a second, Gen, being a mentalist, he realizes like what he has to do. He's reverse psychology. He's like, there's no way you can make that, old man. It's way too complicated, especially for someone in your age and in this time. He's like, it's impossible. And Senku goes along with it because he knows what Gen is up to. But Kaseki says, hey, I don't need you guys to try to hype me up because Kaseki's not stupid. He knows what they're doing. He's like, I don't need you guys to hype me up. I just need you to believe in me like you believe in Chrome. And so Senku understands. He gives him that high five and he's like, yeah, we are friends after all. And that's all Kaseki needs, and I love it. It's very wholesome. It's sometimes all somebody does need is you to believe in them and just say it, every now and then. Let's see what else. Everyone in the village gets inspired and does the best they can to help Senku. And while Chrome and Senku are working, they overhear people around the village are worried like, hey, it's getting colder. There might not be we might lose some people in the winter. Because in that current age, they had access to fire and things like that. But people, as far as I know, from what I've read in stories like that, people would die over winter because they ran out of food or not enough heat or not enough clothing. One panel later, Dr. Stone makes a stove and it allows them to cook food and the children are all around it and they're all happy. And I knew what this was before we got to the next page. Everything Dr. Stone does, little by little, helps the village, but at the same time, it overall helps Senku in what he's trying to do. Because then when you turn the page, the chief is talking to Senku and says the exact same thing. He's like, ever since you got here, you're doing things obviously for the kingdom of science, but it's also helping our own village thrive and get stronger and better and have things that we never had before. And Senku's like, yeah, that's just the point of science. Science does these things. Science makes things better and easier. And we have the chief of the village fully on. Senku is getting everybody on his side. I think even by the end, Tsukasa might even back on the kingdom of science. I've never read this manga before, but I'm assuming Tsukasa is going to come back to our side. Tsukasa is going to be like, okay, I'm pro kingdom of science. But then who would be our major villain? I don't know, but just guessing here. But I love it. It's a very wholesome anime. It's very smart. It's very brilliant. It's very well written. And I'm really in love with this manga. This is the point where I realized I was in love with it. And he even coolly gives Senku his blessings. He's like, you know what? If anybody could have been the chief of the village, it definitely was you. You definitely deserve to be the chief of this village. And I thought that was very great. That's probably the highest honor you can get from a chief is being told you are worthy of taking my place. Now we then follow this up with a hilarious gag from Senku and Gen, who he gives Gin this easy task. He's like, oh, just, I've been giving you complicated stuff here. Just put this in here, wrap this up, and there you go. You made a battery. And Gen's like, okay, finally something easy. And then, of course, because of Dr. Stone and Senku's pretty funny, he's like, oh yeah, I'll just need 800 more of those. I'm a child at heart, so I find stuff like that really funny. But yeah, he's just like, oh yeah, just make 800 more of those. That little thing that just took you 3 seconds, yeah, go ahead and make more of those. In the end, though, thanks to everybody working together, we now have everything we need to make the cell phones. We have the vacuum tubes, we have plastic, and we have plenty of gold wire. And in the end of the chapter, we have radio waves. Like, they've just about built the cell phone. Which I have to say, by the way, this cell phone did not look how I thought it would look. Like, I don't know what I thought it would look like, because when they're like, hey, where does the speaker go, the microphone? And he just attaches like a giant, not really a megaphone because they don't have that back then, but it looks like a megaphone. And he's like, okay, there, now the cell phone's done. So it looks kind of weird, but I mean, for being the new Stone Age and for being what they would have around, it kind of makes sense. Like, maybe that's how the first cell phone looked. I don't really know. I never looked it up. But Kohaku then asked, she's like, hey, we have one cell phone, but like, how does this help us communicate with somebody far across the village? Like, how does that work? Because I thought, like, also they were like, I was like, you're gonna shout through that one cell phone and then like just like megaphones your voice around the village, because then Tsukasa would just know what y'all were up to because y'all would be voicing it. And that's when Senku cleverly says, oh yeah, we do only have one, don't we? And Gen, of course, our insert character, who it went over my head. This is how smart that author is. I did not realize this. Gen is like, you let us celebrate because you didn't want us to be disappointed that we had to do all that shit all over again to make a second one. And Senku was like, did I? And I thought that was funny because I was like, yeah, like, we made our first cell phone, hooray. But yeah, now we need another one. So it's like when you like celebrate doing something very awesome, like for example, let me think of something pretty more simple. Say you beat like a really powerful boss. Like, this is your first time fighting this boss. You lost against him 50 times. You're like, yes, I did it. Next thing you know, that boss got a second form, full health, and your health is the same. And if you lose, you start all over. That's what it felt like. I was like, okay, that's pretty funny. Because there are some games under that hard where like you'll beat the boss after struggling. Next thing you got 2 or 3 more phases. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But in the end, it is all worth it because we now have our cell phone. Now, although the village decided to try the cell phone, and everybody in the village is excited to try the cell phone for the first time, Genro is like, hey, Chrome, why don't you use the cell phone for the first time to tell Ruri how you really feel about it? And Chrome, for a second, is like taken back. He's like, tell her how I would feel about her. And I thought this would be a really good scene. Like, I was like, is he going to confess his love to Ruri? And he goes to, but I thought something embarrassing would happen. Like, someone would take the microphone from him and say, like, something funny. But no, that's not what happens. Instead, Chrome embarrasses himself. He's like, hey, Ruri, isn't this cell phone cool? Isn't science amazing? And you see her blushing, but the rest of the guys are in Kohaku, and I think somebody else is like, this idiot, this is your one chance to confess that you loved her, and you still can't do it. But we know that Ruri cares about Chrome, and we know Chrome cares about Ruri because we saw that in the bout arc. Now, I did, like I said, again, I love the humor, but I didn't think he'd confess his love that way, but it was pretty good. Now, the villagers are all in magma. They're all awed by like like how this works. They're like, this is weird. How is this working? Like, there's no way that like his voice is coming through this microphone. And Senku's like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just like, radar waves and stuff like that. But what throws him off is something that Ruri says again. Ruri's like, oh, it's just like a speaker. And Dr. Stone's like, yeah, wait, did you say a speaker? How do you know about a speaker? And because Ruri's the shaman and she knows the 100 tales, she's like, oh, it's from tale 14. Now, this tale, even to me, when I first read it before I finished the chapter, was kind of weird. She was like, it's about a bee that one day put its stinger onto it put its stinger onto like a gravestone, and then when its stinger touched the gravestone, it was able to speak like a speaker, something like that. Its voice was like amplified. And Senku thinks that this is all pointless and stupid. He's like, that tale doesn't make any sense. But again, these tales were written by his father. And so again, being the mentalist he is, he's like, don't you realize what that means? The number 14, the 14 tales, 1, 4, Senku, that's your birthday. And that's when Senku immediately realizes something. He's like, wait, my dad is a genius. He didn't just make this tale for no reason. And he immediately runs to the gravesite, picks up the gravestone that is his father's, and the rest of the village freaks out. They're like, whoa, what are you doing? You're gonna anger the spirits of the dead. You can't do that. You can't take that stone. That's your father's gravestone. That's like the founder of our village. And Senku's like, no, it's not a gravestone at all. My father was way too smart for that. This is a time capsule. And the only way we're going to find out what's in this is if we hit it hard and fast. But we can't just break it. You have to hit it like with precision. And Magma's like, oh, leave it to me. But we know Magma's all brute force. Magma ain't got no gentle, quick touch. But I already knew my girl Kohako was going to do it. Kohako picks up her rock and needle, whatever those two things are, and she hammers that thing once, and it has been revealed that there is something inside of that rock. It is a time capsule after all. And it looks like a regular disc. And I was just like, okay, he left y'all a disc. Did he expect y'all to play? Well, I didn't know it was like a record disc at first, but I was like, okay, it's a disc. That's pretty interesting. What would be on this disc? Like, is it like a DVD or something? No, he left them a record for them to play, because he knew something in his future. He knew something in the future that his son would find that time capsule. And so Ruri is amazed by this, because she's like, we could even say this for our time. If you found a record from like your dad that he left behind for you, or your mother or grandmother, or even somebody you loved, and they left it recording for you before they died, it is like they're speaking to you from heaven. It's like you're able to talk to them or listen to them one last time. And I thought that was really powerful. And I thought this was a great place to end the chapter review, because I was just like, I could understand that. I never got anything left behind by my father or nobody else like that, but I do have his love. I know that my dad loved me before he passed away. He knows I loved him too. We did argue before he died, but we did hug it out at the same time. So the last thing we said was an argument, but the last thing we did was hug each other. So we do have that. Now, again, it also reminded me of something from Hunter x Hunter, when like Gon's father, who disappeared. I'm not gonna reveal too much about Hunter x Hunter or Gon's father, but I will tell you, like, Gon's father also left him a recording. And I'll play that scene too. Gon's father, who had abandoned Gon since he was born, because Gon's father was a hunter. He wanted to see all kinds of worlds. So even though he had a son, he left a son behind. But in that recording, he says, Gon, if you want to know where I am, come and find me yourself. Now, if you want to know who your mother is, and then Gon erases the tape, because Gon's had a mother this whole time. Gon's mother has been his aunt. So I thought it was really powerful, even when I read it in the manga, even when I saw it in the show, again, because Gon's like, I don't even know who my real mother is. I've had a mother this whole time, and I'm not going to let her be replaced. But my father, you're still out there. I want to know who you are. And so, again, very great manga. I'm loving it. I do not know what's going to happen next. I do not know what's on this recording. We're going to find out together. For now, we're going to end the video. I'll see you guys next time on Everything Anime Podcast. For now, we're going to the sponsor, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, this video was sponsored by me, the author of the Shinry series, the Chronicles of Wayne, and Monsterverse. So I figured I'd do this outro a little bit different by showing you guys what you guys will be checking out. So, the Shinry series starts with Book 1, Shobu Samurai Project Aryoku. 10 years after the death of his parents, Shobu Samurai returns home seeking vengeance, but instead faces the choice to save his home from shadow creatures, blood beasts, and an organization once thought dead. Shinry's Shobu Samurai starts at $9.99. And if you love anime, manga, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho, Fairy Tail, Shaman King, Rave Master, Zatch Bell, anything like that, the Shinry series is definitely the series for you. You'll definitely want to check it out.
The Sword of Light is probably the thickest one so far. And then these books are 2. This is Enter the Dread Zone Tournament. And the series original ending, Arado, the Legendary Conjuring Master. So, and I'll just show you guys some of the covers. Really proud of all of these. But I hope you guys check it out. If you don't like that, I also have the current published books for the Chronicles of Wayne, Love Be Damned, Cotton Candy, Full Moons, Fabled Lovers, A Cursed Virgin's Bite. If You Go Where Monsters Dance, Red will Rain Over Your House. Love Be Damned. Now, the Chronicles of Wayne is about a geeky guy, or a nerdy guy in high school. His senior year, he has a crush on the hottest guy in school, because of course he does. He's only got one best friend, and her name is Barb. Well, the hottest guy in school turns out to be a werewolf. And to make the story more interesting, he bites Wayne and turns Wayne into the first ever wolfman in the last 10 years. And because of that, it was also a sacred law that wolfmen should never be created. I don't want to get into too much of the Chronicles of Wayne without spoiling it, but I can tell you it's very short. This one sells for $6.99, and Love Be Caged right after it. The ending of this trilogy, Love Be Liberated, comes out in October. So I'm going to definitely do a more full in-depth review of this one. But yeah, it's an LGBT fantasy fiction story about werewolves, vampires, white witches, a dark warlock, and, well, many, many more surprises to come. So if you guys like to read, I definitely recommend. These are all the books so far in the Shinry series, except for Shinry's Beginning. I do have that one, but it's just not here with me. But yeah, I appreciate a like, support, or just a review on Amazon. Either way, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day.